So if I had to do an honest analysis of the world of social media right now, this is how I would break it down. What has happened here is that companies have been given a telephone, okay? And they have taken that telephone and it has been explained to them how to use that telephone. And what they have done in reaction to being explained how to use the telephone, they have taken it, they have put their logo in reverse on one end of it, they have heated it up with a branding iron, and they're beating their customers about the head and face with it. That's what's going on with about 90% of the companies out there in the world of social media. Now, I'm not saying that how they are doing it is all wrong. I'm saying that how they're doing it is partially wrong. And so what I hope that I can share with you today are some reminders, because you know this stuff. I'm 99.9% sure that at least 75% of the people in this room are human beings. Therefore, you understand how social media works. And I'm going to remind you of that in a second. And if you don't know how it works, or don't think you know how it works, you're probably about to have an aha moment. You're welcome. So social media happened back in, it's actually always been around, but it happened in the context that we understand it today on the internet. And what happened was, back in the late 1990s, you had big corporate monolithic companies that were basically using all methods of communication to beat their customers about the head and face. And so the customers started running away from 13,000 marketing messages a day, which was reported by someone that I forget. And so people were running away from us. They were running away from people who were trying to send marketing message out. And if you think about the late 1990s, early 2000s, you had the Enron scandal and the Arthur Andersen scandal. You were just a few years removed from the big tobacco scandals. You had this sort of public distrust of companies. And so you started to see that manifest itself in some very interesting ways. You had things like the Do Not Call list came out in the early 2000s. You had the Canned Spam Act, which you could argue doesn't work, but still, you had the Canned Spam Act for email. You had satellite radio emerged. Hey, you can listen to radio, pay a subscription, and you don't have to listen to all these damn commercials if you're not listening to public radio. You had satellite television. You had TiVos and DVRs came out to say, hey, you can fast forward through the commercials. You don't need to listen to all this mess, right? Consumers were telling us, shut the hell up. We don't want to hear from you anymore. This is interrupting my day. They were running away from this. And then another thing happened. So two things sort of happened concurrently, right? Consumers were running away from brands, and the dot-com bust happened about 2000, 2001. All these people who were building internet websites out in Silicon Valley all of a sudden lost their jobs, had to move back in with mom and sit in mom's basement playing Doom or whatever the hell they played. And they sat around for a couple of months and said, you know what? If we want jobs, if we want to continue to build digital stuff for people and have the interwebs, we have to make the interwebs easier to get to. And so they started building tools like Blogger.com and rudimentary social networks that emerged into the Facebooks and the MySpaces and so on and so forth, and the Twitters of today. They started making it really, really easy for common folk who didn't know HTML coding or PHP or MySQL or any of those other acronyms that I don't even know what they stand for, and I work in the technology world. You didn't have to know all that crap to be able to publish a page on the internet, to be able to upload a picture, to be able to put up a video. And now all of a sudden social media emerged because people were running away from this, and they found that there were a lot of other people running away from this. And they started to sort of aggregate themselves together in nice little micro communities.